Chapter 1: A Brief History on Meditation. Meditators swear by the practice's ability to bring enduring positive change into their lives. But where does meditation come from? What are its origins? Who thought it up? We don't know. The earliest records of meditation practice date from approximately 1500 years BCE, before the Common Era. It seems to have been an integral part of the earliest forms of the Vedic, or early Hindu, schools in India. In the 6th to 4th centuries BCE, the Chinese Taoist and Indian Buddhist traditions began to develop their versions of meditation practice. Further west, early forms of meditation practice were developed by such notable figures as Philo of Alexandria, the Desert Fathers of the Middle East, and St. Augustine. The origins of meditation. The English word meditation stems from meditatum, a Latin term meaning to ponder. Although we can't know when exactly people began to meditate, experts agree that the practice probably began many thousands of years ago, before the birth of modern civilization. When scholars look to establish the origins of meditation, they first have to decipher ancient texts and recorded hieroglyphs to find references to this discipline. Several archaeological findings suggest that hunter-gatherers were practitioners of some forms of meditation, as were early shamans. Their knowledge was passed down orally from one generation to the next, helping to lay the crucial foundations of modern meditation. It can be difficult to pin down the origins of meditation because there are so many practices that fall under the meditation umbrella. Is it mindfulness, contemplation, communion, chanting, trance? See, what are the different types of meditation to understand the variety of practices of what might be meant by the term meditation. Meditation in the East. Although many forms of meditation can be found in ancient religious traditions around the world, the practice as a formal component of a spiritual path is probably most closely associated with Buddhism. The Buddha, who lived and taught in Southeast Asia about 2,600 years ago, found it an experiential path that inspired generations of practitioners to sit in mindful awareness and breathe their way to lasting peace. According to his teachings, meditative concentration is one of 3 pieces of training that, when practiced together, result in awakening or enlightenment. The other 2 are proper ethical conduct and the wisdom of seeing things as they truly are. Men and women who gained insight and wisdom by putting the Buddha's teachings into practice taught others, and seekers would travel to learn from great teachers who often lived in cultures far removed from their own, then bring the teachings back home. At one point, people were practicing some form of Buddhist meditation from the territories of modern-day Afghanistan to Mongolia, and from Japan to Indonesia. Buddhism is known to be a spiritual practice that is adapted to the cultures of the regions where it has taken root. An example of this is Zen meditation. In the 7th century, the Japanese monk Dosho traveled to China, where he studied Buddhism under the great master Xuanzang. Upon returning to China, he opened a meditation hall and started teaching a form of sitting meditation that became known as Zazen. This has given rise to generations of Japanese monks and nuns whose primary practice is sitting meditation. Meditation moves west. In modern times, the art of meditation has mainly been associated with Asian spiritual traditions, such as Theravada, Zen, and Tibetan Buddhism, to name but a few. Western interest in Eastern religions and philosophies seems to have begun in earnest in the 19th century due to colonialism and improved means of transportation and communication. In those days, it was mainly the domain of scholars and missionaries. Eastern philosophy caught the attention of Western seekers and artists as early as the late 19th century. But it wasn't until the mid-20th century that meditation became popularized in the West. This period saw the arrival of meditation masters from the East who were invited to share their skills and knowledge with interested students. There were also many Western students of mindfulness who were able to travel east and train under great masters in India, Thailand, Burma, and other Asian countries, then bring their understanding of mindfulness and awareness practices back home and share it. One of the most influential figures in the sphere of mindfulness today is Dr. Jon Kabat-Zinn, who founded the Center for Mindfulness at the University of Massachusetts Medical School in 1979. His program, MBSR, Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, has been instrumental in bringing the benefits of mindfulness practice without any religious overtones to the public attention and scientific communities worldwide. Since its origins nearly 30 years ago, MBSR has entered the public consciousness. Mindfulness seems to be everywhere nowadays. But even though all sorts of mindful, including mindful plants, mindful snacks, and mindful juice bars are there for the sampling, nothing can beat the good old mindful of being fully present with what is. By reading this book, it's clear that you're interested in the practice of meditation and its results, experiencing genuine joy and well-being. You've come to the right place. MindWorks is a nonprofit with a mission to share the most authentic and proven meditation guidance to you and our worldwide community. Middle Ages and Modern History. Throughout the Middle Ages, the practice of meditation grew and developed into many religious traditions as a form of prayer, such as Jewish meditation. In the 18th century, the ancient teachings of meditation began to become more popular among the population of Western cultures. In 1927, the book Tibetan Book of the Dead was published, which attracted significant attention from Westerners and excited interest about the practice. This was followed by the Vipassana movement, or insight meditation, which began in Burma in the 1950s. The Dharma Bums was published in 1958, attracting more attention to meditation at this time. In 1979, the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction MBSR program was founded in the United States, which used meditative techniques in the treatment plans for patients with chronic diseases. Since this time, meditation has become increasingly more common, such that a survey in 2007 found that almost 1 in 10 Americans has meditated. It plays a central role in many religious traditions and rituals, in addition to helping individuals to manage stress and improve overall well-being. As meditation practice develops the most fundamental axis of our being, it is essential to rely on clear, progressive, and genuine meditation methods from authentic guides. To fully transmit to you the full potential of genuine meditation, we created the 9-level MindWorks journey to well-being. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is a technique you can learn which involves making a special effort to notice what's happening in the present moment, in your mind, body, and surroundings, without judging anything. It has roots in Buddhism and meditation, but you don't have to be spiritual or have any particular beliefs to try it. It aims to help you become more self-aware, feel calmer and less stressed, feel more able to choose how to respond to your thoughts and feelings, and cope with difficult or unhelpful thoughts. Be kinder towards yourself. Many people find practicing mindfulness helps them manage their day-to-day well-being, but it doesn't always work for everyone. See our page on Is Mindfulness Right for Me? Mindfulness is a skill. It requires work like any therapy and practice, like any skill. It isn't a shortcut, and courses only set the scene, but I find it enjoyable and rewarding. Most of all, I find it brings some peace into my life. How does mindfulness work? The way we think and what we think about can affect how we feel and act. For example, if you think or worry a lot about upsetting past or future events, you might often feel sad or anxious. The theory behind mindfulness is that by using various techniques to bring your attention to the present, usually focusing on your body and your breathing, you can notice how thoughts come and go in your mind. You may learn that they don't have to define who you are or your experience of the world, and you can let go of them. Notice what your body is telling you. For example, tension or anxiety can often be felt in your body, such as in a fast heartbeat, tense muscles, or shallow breathing. Create space between you and your thoughts so you can react more calmly. Can mindfulness treat mental health problems? Common mental health problems. Studies show that practicing mindfulness can help to manage depression, some anxiety problems, and feelings of stress. Some structured mindfulness-based therapies have also been developed to treat these problems more formally. In some cases, these treatments are recommended as evidence-based treatments by the National Institute of Health and Clinical Excellence, NICE. Complex mental health problems. Research into whether mindfulness could help treat more complex mental health conditions, such as psychosis and bipolar disorder, is still in the early stages. It's not clear yet how helpful mindfulness could be for managing these conditions, but you might find it works for you. What exercises can I try today? Mindfulness exercises to try. Here are a few exercises you could try. You don't need any special equipment. Mindful eating. This involves paying attention to the taste, sight, and textures of what you eat. For example, when drinking a cup of tea or coffee, you could focus on how hot the liquid feels on your tongue, how sweet it tastes, or watch the steam that it gives off. Mindful moving, walking, or running. Notice the feeling of your body moving. You might notice the breeze against your skin, the feeling of your feet or hands against different textures on the ground or nearby surfaces, and the different smells that are around you. Body scan. This is where you move your attention slowly through different parts of the body, starting from the top of your head, moving down to the end of your toes. You could focus on feelings of warmth, tension, tingling, or relaxation of different parts of your body. Mindful coloring and drawing. Focus on the colors and the sensation of your pencil against the paper, rather than trying to draw something in particular. You could use a mindfulness coloring book or download mindfulness coloring images. Mindful meditation. This involves sitting quietly and focusing on your breathing, your thoughts, sensations in your body, and the things you can hear around you. Try to bring your focus back to the present if your mind starts to wander. Many people also find that yoga helps them to concentrate on their breathing and focus on the present moment. See our page on types of alternative and complementary therapy for more information on meditation and yoga. Different things work for different people, so if you don't find one exercise useful, try another. You can also try adapting them so that they suit you and are easier to fit in with your daily life. You can find more examples of exercises to try on our page on relaxation exercises. Some people find practicing mindfulness in nature can have extra benefits. Tips on getting the most from mindfulness exercises. When you do any mindfulness exercise, the key steps are: pay attention. For example, when you shower in the morning, make a special effort to pay attention to the feel of the water on your skin. Notice. When your mind wanders, which is just what minds do, simply notice where your thoughts have drifted to. Choose and return. Choose to bring your attention back to the present moment, usually by focusing on your breathing or another sensation in your body. Be aware and accept. Notice and be aware of emotions you are feeling or sensations in your body. Try to observe and accept these feelings with friendly curiosity and without judgment. Be kind to yourself. Remember that mindfulness is difficult to do and our minds will always wander. Try not to be critical of yourself. When you notice your mind wandering, you can just gently bring yourself back to the exercise. It can also help to set aside regular time to practice. Regular short periods of mindful meditation can work better than occasional long ones. If you struggle to find the time, you might want to decide on one or two routine activities, which you will try to do mindfully each day. Make yourself comfortable. It can help to do mindfulness in a space where you feel safe and comfortable and won't be easily distracted. Go slowly. Try to build your practice slowly. Remember, you're learning a new skill, so it'll take time to develop. Most people find it hard to sit and meditate for long periods at first, so try to do a few minutes and gradually build up to more. Be patient. There's no need to set ambitious goals or put pressure on yourself. Many people find it takes a while to feel comfortable doing mindfulness exercises. The importance of mindfulness and how it helps. Whether you want to practice mindfulness to deal with anxiety or stress, or whether you're keen to improve your attentional skills, there's plenty of scientific evidence in your favor. Mindfulness can help us cope with depression, boost our psychological well-being, manage physical pain, and even have a better memory. When it comes to the way we think and feel, being mindful of our emotions helps us to switch to more positive mindsets and work towards being a better, or at least a happier, person. In terms of relationships, as we'll see in a short while, it has positive implications for how we communicate and relate to those around us. Nonetheless, all the studies have one thing in common. That is, to reap the benefits, you'll want to find a method of mindfulness practice that works for you. Through practice, whether it be an intervention or meditation, we can learn to cultivate the state of mind that lets us be mindful when we feel we need it most. If you choose to take an online course or download scripts to help you on the go, you're already well on the way to your goal. Don't worry, a bit further on, we'll get a little bit more specific, giving some examples of just how mindfulness can play an important helping role in your daily life. How mindfulness can impact our mental health. Mindfulness can help us to improve our mental well-being in at least two ways. Mindfulness-based therapy and interventions take a more structured approach to addressing mental health symptoms, while less structured approaches can be found in many forms and cover a whole diversity of different topics. Let's look briefly at both. Mindfulness-based therapies and interventions. Given that anxiety and depression are two of the most prevalent mental illnesses in the world, it's unsurprising that two of the most well-known mindfulness-based interventions are focused on addressing these mental states. Mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, pioneered by Dr. Kabat-Zinn at the UMass Stress Reduction School, is a group approach. It centers on the idea that a flexible range of mindfulness practices can be used to help people deal with the difficulties of stress and anxiety-related mental illness. Typically, this will involve a combination of yoga and/or mindfulness meditation, harnessing different techniques to relieve stress. Mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, MBCT, is also a group program used to help those with recurring depression to reduce their symptoms and prevent relapse. MBCT involves both cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and mindfulness practices, such as mindful breathing and meditation. Acceptance is a central part of MBCT in that participants learn approaches for reframing rather than eliminating their feelings. Day-to-day mindfulness practice. As you would expect, a lot of the more informal approaches to practicing mindfulness also feature meditation and yoga. It's also easy to sign up for classes, retreats, programs, and talks. But the easiest way to get started right away is to try special exercises that you can do at home. Head here for 25 MBSR exercises that you might like. Can it help improve our well-being? Yes. If the above benefits aren't enough to convince you, there are still more ways that practicing mindfulness can help improve your well-being. Mindfulness can help you regulate and express your emotions, develop and utilize better coping strategies, be less easily distracted on non-task activities, help you sleep better, practice self-compassion, potentially build resilience. Can mindfulness be harmful? Practicing mindfulness has some similarities to playing sports. Take a responsible approach to whatever practice you choose, and in most cases, you will generally be fine. Nonetheless, the massive rise in interest in mindfulness has prompted some research into its potential downsides. Forming false memories. Mindfulness meditation may make people more susceptible to fake memories. That is, participants who practiced mindfulness meditation in the study showed some impairments in their ability to monitor reality, mentally discarding positive thoughts as well as bad. Another study found that the mindfulness practice of discarding negative thoughts may also lead us to discard positive and strengthening ones too. It's worth mentioning that this effect was much more noticeable when participants physically wrote down thoughts, then threw them away, rather than just imagining the scenario. Avoid difficult thinking. Some practitioners may use mindfulness to avoid more cognitively taxing tasks, choosing to withdraw into a state of mindfulness rather than engage with a problem at hand. Physical and psychological symptoms. Some studies have found instances where mindfulness meditation has been linked to potential adverse reactions. These included derealization, depersonalization, and amongst other things, hallucinations. If you're concerned about any of these findings, you might find the papers above to be interesting reading. More generally, use your best judgment when trying out any new techniques that you're unfamiliar with. Is it the same as awareness or concentration? We've already looked at several definitions of mindfulness, but it's still natural to wonder how it differs from awareness and concentration more broadly. Awareness is defined as having or showing realization, perception, or knowledge. While mindfulness involves awareness in several senses, it also includes non-judgment and is, in most cases at least, a conscious activity. Being aware that an apple is there on the table, for instance, doesn't mean we're free from judgment about it. Concentration, on the other hand, defines as the state of being concentrated, i.e., direction of attention to a single object. Inherent in this latter definition is the idea of intense focus on one stimulus, often at the expense of others. If we are suppressing other things from our attention, we aren't simply letting them exist. We can't be relaxed and accept things as they are if we're busy suppressing our attention in other areas. What it's not: mindfulness versus mindlessness. The difference between mindlessness and mindfulness may seem obvious. In one, you pay attention, and in the other, perhaps not so much. A state of conscious awareness in which the individual is implicitly aware of the context and content of information. It is a state of openness to novelty in which the individual actively constructs categories and distinctions. On the other hand, mindlessness is characterized by an over-reliance on categories and distinctions drawn in the past, and in which the individual is context-dependent and as such is oblivious to novel or simply alternative aspects of the situation. Langer describes mindlessness as often being typified by a sometimes complete lack of conscious awareness, where cognitive commitment is made to information that has been received. Very little attention is paid to context when someone is being mindless, often because a piece of information seems unimportant at first, or is received as an instruction. How can beginners practice mindfulness? As we've mentioned, it's incredibly easy to start practicing mindfulness right away in the comfort of your own home. To be honest, it's even possible to download a mindfulness app and get started on the bus. If you've come this far, you've already opened yourself to how mindfulness practice can benefit you, and we'd recommend these exercises as one starting point. You may also want to begin with learning more about the concept through further reading, or check out some ready-to-go videos and resources on mindfulness meditation. Pick something that feels appealing and interesting to you, and don't be afraid to go for it. Examples of mindfulness skills in daily life. As promised, we've put together some specific examples of mindfulness skills at work in day-to-day scenarios. You may already be familiar with some of these or draw on them in situations that you frequently encounter. 1. Walking from A to B. Drawing on our mindfulness tips above, there are ways that awareness and non-judgmental reflection can transform the most mundane activities into an experience to embrace. While walking to work or the shops, note each step. Rather than letting your mind wander into thought patterns or processes, draw your awareness to what you're doing. Notice how each step feels, how the breeze touches your skin or ruffles your clothes. If you're walking past trees or water, listen to the sounds and note the colors. Experience them all with mindfulness on the here and now. 2. When talking with others. Let's use Jim and John as an example of how tuning in non-judgmentally shows mindfulness at work. Jim is unhappy with John and tries to explain his feelings. Even though his words come out a little muddled and full of emotion, John can try to listen without judging him. Without reacting emotionally and by paying attention without crafting a response in his mind. Instead, he can pay attention to what Jim is saying and respond in a more compassionate, meaningful way. Rather than arguing without listening, this helps them both to reach a more productive outcome while deepening their relationship and building trust. 3. Before a big speech. Public speaking can make many of us feel daunted, and that's okay. If you're wanting to practice mindfulness to help you deal with the stress that you feel, start with some gentle breathing. Find yourself somewhere quiet to take a moment and focus on what you're feeling. Instead of honing in on negative thoughts, try to decenter. Accept and acknowledge that this is how you're feeling, but it's not who you are. You may want to move your consciousness toward the physical sensations you are experiencing, focusing on each part of your body as you let it relax. Notice how it feels as your muscles unwind and let go of your stress. Tips for practicing mindfulness. I said there were ways to get started right away, so let's dive into some tips. Hopefully, these will help you get started practicing mindfulness. 1. Take a few moments to be aware of your breath. Becoming aware of how your breath flows in and out, how your tummy rises and falls with each breath you take. 2. Take note of whatever it is you're engaged in. While you're sitting, eating, or relaxing, what are your senses, not your thoughts, telling you? Notice the here and now. If you're stretching, for example, note how your body feels with each movement. If you're eating, focus on the taste, color, and details of your food. 3. If you're going somewhere, focus on the here and now. Rather than letting your brain drift into thought, bring them back to the physical act of walking. How do you feel? Pay less attention to where you're going and more on what you're doing as you step and how your feet feel. This is a nice one to try on sand or grass. 4. You don't need to be doing something at every moment. It's okay. Just exist. Just exist and relax. Again, this is about the here and now. 5. If you notice yourself turning back towards thinking, just focus once more on your breathing. You can return your focus to how your breath comes in and out of your body. And if you can feel your muscles relax as you're doing so, that's even better. 6. Understand that your mental processes are just thoughts. They aren't necessarily true, nor do they require you to take action. Mindfulness is about simply being and about being relaxed in accepting things around you as they are. This applies internally too. It's part of knowing your mind. 7. Try listening in an entirely judgment-free way. You may notice that you're becoming more aware of your feelings and thoughts. Don't judge them, just accept them. 8. You may find that certain activities make you tune out. These are great opportunities for practicing more awareness. What are you doing or experiencing? This is an example of how mindfulness practice can flexibly become part of your day. You can practice mindfulness while driving, walking, swimming, even just brushing your teeth. 9. Take some time to enjoy nature. Relaxing surroundings can help you tune in with greater ease. Plus, being in nature has so many of its well-being benefits. 10. Let yourself notice when your mind drifts back toward judgment. Remember, this is only natural and doesn't have to be part of your self. Part of mindfulness practice means freeing your mind from practices like judgment. You may find that this becomes easier with time and practice. You can find these tips in their original form at Here to Help. Have you got any tips for practicing mindfulness? If so, we'd love to hear them. Ways mindfulness can empower us. If you are wondering just how mindfulness can empower us, let's have a recap. Being mindful can help us manage our emotions and feelings in stressful situations. Through practice, we can learn to decenter from negative ways of being and free our minds. Mindfulness practice allows us to step back and accept our mental processes without judgment. It can help us to cope with feelings of anxiety and even depression. Mindfulness practice in everyday life can lead us to savor experiences with new perspectives. Practicing mindfulness in relationships, as we'll see in a second, can help us listen better, appreciate others more, and get along at work. We may even be able to manage physical pain using mindfulness. Mindfulness practice helps us not to react instantly with emotion. We can become more aware of how we practice self-compassion, and being mindful may assist our attempts to build resilience. How mindfulness works in relationships. The science of mindfulness in relationships. There's good news for those who want to use mindfulness to improve their relationships. Psychological evidence suggests that being able to practice mindfulness can foster greater relationship satisfaction by increasing your ability to deal with stress when conflict arises. It also plays a role in helping us effectively communicate with one another about our feelings in romantic relationships, as well as in more general interpersonal situations. De Kaiser and colleagues find this is related to the role of mindfulness in helping us to become more emotionally self-aware, empathetic, and less socially anxious. So, in less scientific terms, we've already seen earlier how mindfulness helps us stop responding so instinctively based on our emotions. When we look more closely at mindfulness practice in romantic relationships, we can also see how it helps us deal with the stress of conflicts and communicate better. How to practice mindfulness in relationships. With this in mind, we can be more mindful in our relationships by paying more attention, both by becoming more aware of our feelings and not reacting instinctively and paying greater attention to what others are saying. Practicing greater acceptance. This is useful if we experience or anticipate conflict. Being more accepting rather than resistant helps us increase our chances of a positive, even productive, response from others. In other words, we're more likely to come to a useful means of resolution, as others will usually be more accepting in turn. Appreciating others. In romantic relationships, this will mean valuing and fostering deeper relationships with your significant other. In the workplace, this can have significant implications for employee engagement and productivity. Allowing. Fouts discusses how allowing yourself to be who you are and permitting others to do the same can encourage greater self-expression. In the workplace, the creativity benefits are manifold. In relationships, it links right back to acceptance, which helps you both flourish as people. Ways to use your mind to control pain. Drugs are very good at getting rid of pain, but they often have unpleasant and even serious side effects when used for a long time. If you have a backache, fibromyalgia, arthritis, or other chronic pain that interferes with your daily life, you may be looking for a way to relieve discomfort that doesn't involve drugs. Some age-old techniques, including meditation and yoga, as well as newer variations, may help reduce your need for pain medication. Pain involves both the mind and the body. Mind-body therapies may have the capacity to alleviate pain by changing the way you perceive it. How you feel pain is influenced by your genetic makeup, emotions, personality, and lifestyle. It's also influenced by experience. If you've been in pain for a while, your brain may have rewired itself to perceive pain signals even after the signals aren't being sent anymore. The following techniques can help you take your mind off the pain and may help to override established pain signals. 1. Deep breathing. It's central to all the techniques, so deep breathing is the one to learn first. Inhale deeply, hold for a few seconds, and exhale. To help you focus, you can use a word or phrase to guide you. For example, you may want to breathe in peace and breathe out tension. There are also several apps for smartphones and tablets that use sound and images to help you maintain breathing rhythms. 2. Eliciting the relaxation response. An antidote to the stress response, which pumps up heart rate and puts the body's systems on high alert, the relaxation response turns down your body's reactions. After closing your eyes and relaxing all your muscles, concentrate on deep breathing. When thoughts break through, say, refresh, and return to the breathing repetition. Continue doing this for 10 to 20 minutes. Afterward, sit quietly for a minute or two while your thoughts return. Then open your eyes and sit quietly for another minute. 3. Meditation with guided imagery. Begin deep breathing, paying attention to each breath. Then listen to calming music or imagine being in a restful environment. If you find your mind wandering, say, refresh, and call the image back into focus. 4. Mindfulness. Pick any activity you enjoy, reading, poetry, walking in nature, gardening, or cooking, and become fully immersed in it. Notice every detail of what you are doing and how your senses and emotions are responding. Practice bringing mindfulness to all aspects of your life. 5. Yoga and Tai Chi. These mind-body exercises incorporate breath control, meditation, and movements to stretch and strengthen muscles. Videos and apps can help you get started. If you enroll in a yoga or Tai Chi class at a gym or health club, your health insurance may subsidize the cost. 6. Positive thinking. When we're ill, we often tend to become fixated on what we aren't able to do. Retraining your focus on what you can do instead of what you can't can give you a more accurate view of yourself and the world at large. Keeping a journal in which you list all the things you are thankful for each day. We may have limitations, but that doesn't mean we aren't still whole human beings. Chapter 2. General Anxiety Disorder and Meditation. Generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, is characterized by excessive worry that doesn't seem to stop, even in the absence of a fright-inducing stimulus or situation. It is not general anxiety that tends to come and go, triggered by stressful situations, like a loud sound or a scary movie, that subsides as the scary situations subside. It is always there, either under the surface or in full effect. Many people with GAD may not even characterize what they are feeling as fear. They may simply feel as though they cannot be themselves in social situations, or that they feel emotionally exhausted and uneasy for no apparent reason. Some people simply notice the symptoms of GAD but disconnect them from their emotions. They may simply notice a racing heartbeat, insomnia, racing thoughts, a desire to stay in bed all day, and find themselves being less and less inclined to speak to friends without connecting the underlying cause of anxiety to their symptoms. Some only notice their anxiety at certain times of the day, like in the morning, in the middle of the night, or in certain situations, like their commute home, in social situations, or during transitions. Then others experience severe, overwhelming, uncontrollable emotional discomfort called panic attacks that can be triggered by just about anything out of nowhere. Generalized anxiety disorder affects different people in different ways, but every diagnosis has one thing in common: a malfunctioning fight or flight response system. In other words, chemicals like cortisol and adrenaline are being released by a malfunctioning system for unknown reasons. Also, when a fearful trigger occurs, the parasympathetic nervous system, which is typically responsible for returning the body to a calm, relaxed state, malfunctions, and the mind can't help but attempt to conceptualize a cause for its nonstop fear. The fearful mind will convince a person that they must be afraid of the future, afraid of losing their job, afraid of dying, and even get so creative as to make a person afraid of anything they see. The eyes will dart around the room to find the cause: an unpaid bill, unwashed dishes, or something as simple as a broken light bulb will inflame the situation. For example, the mind will begin to concoct a fearful, open-ended story about a person in a photograph. What if they died? What if they can't take care of themselves in old age? What if? A person with this kind of severe GAD can begin to feel as though they are going crazy, and then become more and more anxious that they are going crazy, and this loop spirals and spirals. So, simply put, the brain and body are both working in tandem to spiral anxiety deeper and deeper. Why would the body and brain do this? Don't they like you? They sure do. They need to protect you at all costs. And they think they are protecting you. The bad news is, not only are they not protecting you from the objects or stimulus they are confusing with real threats, they are making things much, much worse. In other words, they are acting disorderly. And although doctors still don't know the direct cause of why these malfunctions occur, both doctors and meditation teachers agree: the way you think affects the way you feel, and the way you feel affects the way you think, in a cyclical pattern. Many people believe it's a one-way relationship, that if you're uncomfortable, your discomfort can only be fought with distraction and avoidance, i.e., flight. And you have no choice but to respond in this manner, or the discomfort will build and build. This is why many people with GAD resort to self-medication with drugs and alcohol, or have developed a system of constant distractions like a television that is always on, obsessive-compulsive behaviors, and preoccupations with the lives of others. This assumption is not true. It is these actions that prolong discomfort and dysfunction. One can learn how to functionally respond to the initial release of chemicals and enormously affect the way they feel. They can learn to create a healthy relationship with their fear. They can learn to cut the rings on the downward spiral and stop the continuous loop. At first, one will find that they can't control the initial chemical floods from starting, but they can control how they respond to them and stop the cycle of anxiety. Eventually, over time, once a practice of mindful relaxation responses are applied repeatedly to these random chemical floods, the malfunctioning system begins to heal. It may never be cured, but its malfunctions can be gotten under such significant control that a very functional and peaceful life is possible despite one's disorder. A mindful meditation practice can directly combat these responses by stopping the fantasy-based roller coaster that sends anxiety spiraling out of control. Meditation can be described as the practice of focusing on reality to the best of one's ability. Reality sure has a lot of philosophical definitions, but there is only one definition that we are concerned with within meditation: right here, right now. The meditator does their best to focus only on the ambient sensations in the body and the breath, not allowing their minds to run away with the fantasy-based thoughts that inevitably arise. There is nothing conceptual about the breath. It is always happening, always fluctuating, and if it stops, so does your reality. The breath is as real as it gets, and dedicating your focus to it without judgment is an incredibly powerful tool. It is, however, a misconception that the goal of meditation is to clear the mind. If you want to try, good luck. You'll have just as much luck using your willpower to stop your own heart. The mind simply becomes clear when we open our hearts and focus our attention on the moment we are in. The mind is a muscle that is always working. So the goal is to simply watch this muscle flux and accept that thought will arise while trying to keep the focus on the breath, making sure not to get carried away with those thoughts and spun out of reality-based focus. Plain and simple, this is the process of reconditioning the mind to be responsive, not reactive. When you develop the part of your brain that watches thoughts, the cingulate cortex, instead of exercising the part of the brain that reacts to thoughts, the amygdala and hypothalamus, you stop oiling the hamster wheel that your anxiety runs on. Anxiety that comes from GAD is never reality, right here, right now, based. It is a preoccupation with possible imagined events that may take place in the future, or looping events that took place in the past and now have some bearing on the future. There is a very simple reason for this. As mentioned earlier, the mind has to concoct a story to explain why the body is feeling fearful for no apparent reason. If it latches onto something in reality, for example, a bill that is nothing more than a piece of paper sitting on a table, and stops there, there is no reason to be afraid. Who's afraid of a piece of paper? It's when the mind knits the story about what that piece of paper means, and specifically what it means to the future where that bill will be unpaid and you will lose your home and end up in the gutter and so on and so on. Then it can continue to deliver the stressful physiological responses to help you flee by tensing the body, which scares the mind, which tenses the body deeper, and so on and so on. The bill is not happening right now. The paper sitting on the table is the only thing happening right now. It doesn't mean that your responsibilities to pay that bill aren't real, but one thing is certain. All of the outcomes your mind is cooking up if you do or don't react to that paper in a particular way are not happening. They may never happen, and even if they do, those outcomes are completely irrelevant to the moment you are in at this point, although it may feel completely to the contrary. The tricky part is interrupting the conversation between the fearful mind and the body. But luckily, that is exactly what meditation is for, and there are a lot of ways to do it. Morning anxiety and mindfulness. Perhaps you wake up and feel a sinking feeling in your stomach, a dark, fearful, or sad overtone that makes the thought of getting up so scary and painful that you just want to throw the covers back over your head and disappear into unconsciousness. Many people experience anxiety and depression that is worse in the morning than at any other time of the day, and there are a few reasons why morning anxiety may occur. Your cortisol levels are at their highest level when you wake up, and your blood sugar is at its lowest since you haven't eaten for hours. Cortisol is a fight or flight hormone, so when you wake up and this chemical is at its highest level, your mind will respond to the sensations this chemical produces with fearful, open-ended thoughts that magnify negativity. Oftentimes, it's difficult to discern the exact cause of the fear. We often feel an overwhelming sensation of discomfort, a desire to stay in bed all day, and a feeling tone of trepidation and depression that makes thoughts of facing the day almost impossible to bear. It seems as though the future holds nothing but perilous experiences that we simply will not be able to cope with. So we cover our heads with our pillows and try unsuccessfully to avoid the future. These kinds of thoughts are fantasy-based. The things we are fearing aren't happening to us at the moment. We're afraid of the things we imagine will happen in the future. Whether or not any of our fears come true, they have no bearing on the present moment. No amount of feeling terrified or uncomfortable or sad will change the outcomes of our future situations. But even if we understand these facts, it doesn't make it any easier to pull ourselves out of the brutal sensations. Meditating in the morning is a great way to ease into your day and get the cortisol, adrenaline-plagued body back to a calm, normal state. But before you do, you have to ease your mind and body enough to get out of bed first. Otherwise, as you turn your focus inward, you may only be able to focus on the pain these chemicals cause in your body. The way to combat morning anxiety is by replacing fantasy-based negative thoughts with reality-based positive ones. Easier said than done, but here's the trick: make it personal. The following is a list of steps to include in your multi-pronged strategy to retraining your mind. Consider them, but personalize them, mix and match them, alter them. If the goal is to stop negative, fantastical thinking with realistic, positive thinking, get creative. What ways can you come up with to do this? Here are some examples to ease down these feelings and help you get on with your day in a positive way. Accept your fear. One of the worst, or I guess best, ways to exasperate anxiety and depression is to fear your future or to lament your sadness. Being afraid of being afraid often makes what you already feel worse, and being sad that you simply can't wake up without sadness will dig you deeper into depression. Feeling like you may not be able to handle how your body or mind will react to fear can be the trigger that starts an episode. So first, think to yourself, has my fear ever been so bad that I couldn't handle it? Not, was my fear so uncomfortable that I ended up having a panic attack? But so bad that you couldn't handle it, that you imploded, that you died of fright? Not likely. Accept that you will be scared or sad. Expect it. Odds are you know exactly the hand your fear is playing. You know all the symptoms. You know its whole MO. Accepting that you will be afraid is playing a part in healing your anxiety. Say to yourself, I will be afraid in the morning, so I'm going to come up with a game plan and follow it through. Before you go to sleep, think of something you do very well. Think about how this talent makes you feel, and decide that first thing in the morning, this will be your very first thought. It may sound silly, but something as simple as, I'm a wonderful dancer, or I make really good fried chicken, is activating a very specific part of the brain that releases the happy chemicals, like dopamine. If your brain throws a bucket of cortisol at you, you want to toss back a dopamine water balloon. Think of something that you are proud of, not necessarily something that only makes other people proud. Sure, they can be things that people enjoy, but be sure not to use a thought like, I'm a great asset to my boss. It simply won't have as good an impact as, I finally learned to juggle. If you want to make this more effective, find a photograph or picture on your phone of you doing this special thing. And the moment you wake up, reach for it straight away and think clearly to yourself, I'm so awesome at limbo. Here is the church, here is the steeple. This may sound a little silly, but when you combine this fun little finger trick with specific positive thoughts, it can help to ground your mind in reality and snap you out of anxiety. The trick is to perform the finger folding game, saying out loud, here is the church, here is the steeple, open the doors, and here are all the people. As soon as you've opened the doors, imagine someone you love sitting in that little imaginary place full of people, and do it again, thinking of someone else, and so on. If your mind begins to drift to anxious thoughts or you're distracted by the discomfort you feel in your body, just keep going. Concentrate on your fingers carefully while you do it. Repeat this about 15 to 20 times and see how you feel. Make a quick but detailed list. As soon as you open your eyes, make a quick but detailed list of what you're about to do and describe the sensations those things will bring without using any negative descriptors. For example, I'm going to pull off my clean sheets, put my feet on the soft carpet, put on my comfy robe, walk into the bright bathroom, pick up my shiny toothbrush, etc. Fight every urge to describe anything negatively. Your fearful mind will probably take the opportunity to chime in with descriptions like the cold floor or the dirty bathroom, but you're going to fight it with positive, true thoughts. Be sure not to embellish or be dishonest about your positive words. Don't be sarcastic with yourself. If in your list of tasks you can truly think of nothing positive about a certain step, simply skip the positive description and just use a fact to describe it like, pick up my blue toothbrush, take a 15-minute shower. Don't go any farther than a list of 10 things. As soon as you've hit number 10, hop out of bed and concentrate your attention on the descriptors you just gave to those steps. Feel how soft the carpet is. Feel how comfy the robe is. See how bright the bathroom is. The goal is to distract fantasy with reality and then activate it in your senses. Keep a piece of fruit or granola bar next to the bed. If your morning anxiety is exacerbated or even caused by low blood sugar, immediately bite into an apple, a banana, or any fruit you like as soon as you wake up. Keep some right next to your bed. You can also grab for a health bar or one of those great organic fruit roll-ups and scarf it down as soon as you come to. Make sure your alarm clock is next to you. If you're the kind of person who is afraid you won't wake up unless your alarm clock yells at you, or if you just use a clock radio turned to a boisterous talk radio station, try something less intense. You can try an app like Sleep Cycle for the iPhone, which uses the accelerometer of the phone to wake you at your lightest sleep state in a half hour. If you don't have a smartphone, find an alarm clock that allows you to play a song that you choose. Choose a sweet song that's gentle on your body. Make your reality more peaceful with peaceful music. Again, the only goal is to replace negative fantasies with positive realities, and only you know what makes you feel best. Putting a personal twist on controlling your anxiety is far more effective than following a list of steps. Also, keep in mind, when you put these kinds of steps into practice, you are indeed training the brain to stop this cycle of morning anxiety, especially when you couple these kinds of steps with your meditation practice. The goal is eventually to train the brain so well that you don't need to do these steps, but you're starting at the beginning, so go slowly and steady. Set your mind to locking itself to a positive reality rather than fearing an imaginary fantasy. Midnight anxiety and mindfulness. Many people experience panic in the middle of the night. They wake up suddenly and are bombarded with terrifying thoughts that snowball and cascade. There are a few reasons why middle-of-the-night panic occurs. The same reasons are responsible for morning anxiety. Your cortisol levels are at their highest when you wake up, and your blood sugar is at its lowest since you haven't eaten for hours. Cortisol is a fight or flight hormone, so when you open your eyes, your mind will respond to the sensations this chemical produces with fearful and even depressive thoughts. These thoughts tend to be open-ended, doom and gloomy, and are not problems with solutions. They tend to be what-if thoughts. What if I lose my job? What if they find out I lied on my resume? Thoughts that can't conclude. And since they are so open-ended, the body feels that it needs to produce more and more stress hormones to protect you from the impending doom. It's a vicious cycle. There are several ways to combat this kind of anxiety, and they are all very simple. The hardest thing, however, will be to simply attempt them. Your mind believes it is protecting you when it goes into this cycle. The moment you attempt to stop it from protecting you with a fight or flight chemical flood, your fearful mind will roar even louder. The way to fight this is by understanding the weapon it's using. Fantasy. The mind doesn't use reality to scare you. It uses perceptions of reality. A perception cannot be contested. You can't prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that any of your open-ended fears won't occur in the future. So it uses this tool to lock you in a spiral. If you know that fantasy is its tool, you know there is only one weapon that fights fantasy. Reality and resolve are the keys. If you smother fantasy with reality, fantasy loses all its powers, like throwing water on the Wicked Witch of the West. The following is a technique of locking your mind in reality when your mind is using fantasy to make you panic. Step 1. Detach from your fear. The moment you notice your mind is looping in fearful, fantastical storytelling, say to yourself something like, "I see you, anxiety." Call it out for what it is. Recognize it. You are not your fear. Disconnect from it. Tell it calmly and quietly to shush. Don't be harsh like a nasty librarian. The mind responds far better to kindness than to anger. It's scared enough already. It's time to be nice and make it feel better, so be kind. Simply recognize it for what it is. Breathe in nice and slow, and as you breathe out, either think or say quietly out loud, shush, the way you would calm a scared child. When the mind swells up again in fear, respond with a loving shush. Sometimes repeating this step alone for about 5 minutes can guide you back to sleep. If not, try moving to step 2. Step 2. Turn your attention to the room you're in. After you've let your fear know the jig is up and you can see what it's doing, begin to laser focus on objects in your room, things you can see or touch, the things that are absolutely indisputably real. For example, think or say out loud to yourself, "I like my pillow, it's soft and thick." Then move to the sheets. "I like my sheets, they're nice and clean." Then move to the air itself. "I like the temperature, it's cool and feels nice to breathe." Get very, very specific and detailed. "I like the color of my pajamas," but stay positive. If you're so scared that using the words "I like" doesn't feel honest, don't feel that you need to lie to yourself. Say, "I usually like the color of my pajamas." But again, keep it positive. Don't say things like, "If I weren't afraid, I would like." Don't acknowledge your fear any longer. Regard it the same way you would a crazy person on the street. You wouldn't walk up to a crazy person screaming and flailing their arms, I hope, and engage in their conversation, so don't do the same for your irrational fear. Start with your most immediate tactile sensations, like your pillow, the sheets, the thickness of the mattress, etc., and move your awareness out from there. Step 3. Don't let your mind leave your room, whatever you do. Again, your fearful mind is going to hate this process, so it will attempt to use an object you are focusing on to spin its fantasy if you don't stay vigilant. For example, if you say to yourself, "I like the picture of my mother on my wall," your mind may jump at the opportunity to start fantasizing fearful thoughts about your mother. "Gosh, I hope she's not worried about me. What if she doesn't have enough money when she gets older?" And so on. Keep your focus only on what is in the room. Your mother isn't there, but the picture frame is. So is the glass in the frame, and the frame is 4 by 6 inches, and it's decorated with little wooden ducks, and so on. If your fearful mind starts to knit stories about your objects, calmly and kindly shift your attention somewhere else and bring your attention back to reality. Don't feel guilty or ashamed or discouraged. Just bring your mind kindly back to the things that you can see or touch. Step 4. Repeat. Keep going and going until you bring both the body and the mind back to reality. If you can keep up your focus, you'll be surprised how quickly this will happen once you get through the initial discomfort of fighting fantasy with reality. It could take as little as 5 minutes. Step 5. If you haven't already fallen back to sleep, turn inward and repeat a relaxing mantra, or bring your attention to your breath and body. Move your focus around your body, focusing on the toes, ankles, shins, calves, and up the body slowly. Once the mind has stopped spinning fearful thoughts, you may want to continue to relax the body into a peaceful sleep. Why meditation is so tricky. Make no mistake, the practice of mindful meditation, which on paper seems extraordinarily simple, goes completely against the grain of everything your fearful mind and body wants you to do. So it's not as simple as it sounds. Your fearful mind wants you to run and hide. It doesn't want you to sit still, and it doesn't want you to gain control over it. The moment you sit down to meditate, you are making a conscious decision to practice not running away. You are sitting, accepting any thought or feeling that comes to you, and then kindly bringing your attention back to your breath. You are deciding not to run and hide. This is the scariest thing to a fearful mind. This is why meditation in the beginning can be so very difficult, and so many people feel that they simply cannot do it. Your GAD has you looping in fearful loops, and it couldn't be happier. It feels as though it's doing its job at full efficiency. This is why people with obsessive compulsive disorders feel like they are in control when they are compelled to wash their hands every 5 minutes or obsessively clean their home. It feels good to satisfy the immediate need to run from discomfort. The only problem is, it's an illusion that a person with an anxiety disorder is ever getting away from their fear. Continuing to run from anxiety by soothing immediate discomforts only makes it stronger, lasts longer, and creates long-term effects that can damage relationships, jobs, and for some, virtually every aspect of one's life. Suffice it to say, when you make a decision to stop running and simply sit still and quiet, boy, oh boy, your fearful mind has a tendency to defend itself when you try. It is almost certain that you will experience distractions and annoyances that you simply can't ignore. It's funny how a person can sit in front of the television all day long and not move a single muscle, but the moment they sit down to meditate, they just can't sit still, not even for 5 minutes. The tiniest itch becomes so irritating they can't stand it. Perhaps a dripping faucet or a noisy radiator becomes the loudest thing in the universe. And it's no coincidence. The last thing a fearful body wants to be is sitting still. Some people have experienced strange occurrences while meditating on overwhelmingly irrational fears that hadn't surfaced since childhood. Some people experience fear that the boogie monster is in the room watching them, that they are being possessed by the devil, that there is something, anything lurking in their room that must be feared and dealt with immediately. This is how afraid the fearful mind is of peace, so expect some very effective deterrents. More often than not, experiences will not be this extreme, but the mind will still find innumerable ways to get you to stop. Some find uncomfortable meditation experiences shake them completely out of their practice. You can think of these experiences as your mind pulling out the biggest guns it's got to try to save you from yourself. Imagine how a loving mother would react to their child unhinging the seatbelt of a roller coaster they just got on. She would scream, push everyone aside, try to get the attention of the ride's operator, even grab the controls herself, even if she had no idea how to use them. She would panic and do everything she could to stop that ride. This is exactly how your mind will react when you remove the seatbelt it thinks it has fastened around you. As far as your fearful mind is concerned, no matter what it takes, it's not going to let you fall out of your seat, even if it needs to scare the pants off you, or just make you so uncomfortable, or filled with doubt to make you give back control. The minds of people suffering from GAD, and even the minds of people who don't suffer from the condition, respond in some incredible ways that send them flying off their meditation cushions. Nothing knows what scares or annoys you more than your mind. Keep in mind, however, these experiences are just temporary. For many people, distractions, discomforts, doubts, and fearful thoughts subside after a few days or weeks, and some people don't experience them at all. Just be aware that the more often you practice and sit through discomforts, the less of a grip your fearful mind will have on you. It will learn that it can't shake you and it can't force you to lose your resolve. It has no power in your meditation space. If fearful thoughts appear during meditation, simply step back from the thought and say, "Hello. Hello, anxiety. I see you." This is how you can detach from your emotions. You are not your fear or any emotion you have. It is something that is not you. You feel emotions. You feel fear. So if a fearful thought arises, call it out. Notice the sensations in the body that those fearful chemicals cause: tightness in your stomach, a rushing feeling in your chest, dizziness, and difficult breaths, and simply watch them. Notice that none of the sensations that fear cause is anywhere as bad as, say, a slap in the face or burning yourself on the tea kettle. It's the stories that your mind spins on a loop that makes this fear hurt so bad. Call it out, stop the story, and breathe into those places that feel uncomfortable in the body until the pain subsides. Here are some ways to help you stay motivated when meditation gets tough. 1. Eliminate as many distractions as you can. Before you get started, clean the dishes, put your laundry away, water the plants, call your mom. Do those little things that you know will either bug you or stick in your mind and make it too difficult to focus while you meditate. 2. Stretch. Before you begin, sit on the floor and spend about 10 minutes doing the following simple yoga stretches. Seated eagle stretch. Place your left elbow inside your right inner elbow. Use your right hand to gently grip the left palm. Take a deep breath and lift the right and left arm together. You should feel a nice stretch down your back. Keep the arms lifted and slowly pull the arms over to the right while you turn your head to look over the left shoulder. You should feel a fantastic stretch down your left side. Hold for about 10 seconds and take nice deep breaths. Repeat by doing the same stretch with the right elbow tucked inside the left inner elbow. Be mindful of every sensation you feel in your body. Knee down twist. Lay down flat on your back with legs straight and place your arms out to your sides. 1. Bend and drop the right knee to the left side of the body and twist over while the other leg remains straight. 2. Bend the knee so the right foot is as high as the left knee. Ease into the twist and hold for 5 long breaths. Repeat by twisting to the other side. Be mindful of every sensation you feel in your body. Bound ankle pose. Bound ankle pose. From a seated position, bring the bottoms of your feet together and interlace your fingers around your feet. Breathe in deeply and tilt your hips backward to straighten your posture while you look straight ahead. If you wish, you can then place your arms out in front and slowly walk your hands forward to deepen the stretch. Hold for 5 long breaths. Be mindful of every sensation you feel in your body. 3. Create a meditation space. It's important to have a space that is designed just for your meditation practice. It can be a whole room or just a little area on the floor with objects that your mind associates with peace. Candles, religious objects like statues of the Buddha or Jesus or Shiva, fresh or dried flowers, incense, etc. Religious objects are not necessary if they don't speak to you. These objects are just things that help transform your mindset into a more peaceful and calm state. Get creative. 4. Shake the sillies out. One must stay perfectly still while meditating, and if a distraction arises, like an annoying itch or pain in the leg, the meditator is supposed to just watch the sensations without reacting to them, and then watch as they subside. The only time one is supposed to succumb to pain or distraction is if the pain is truly too much to handle, or if the distraction is truly affecting your ability to focus on your breath. Both instances are very rare. An itchy eyebrow or a bit of lower back pain doesn't fall into this category. If you can just sit still and let the distractions rise and fall without giving in to them, they tend to calm down like a child having a temper tantrum. Eventually, they'll just wear themselves out while you keep dominion over your mind and body. In the beginning, however, this just seems like a strange form of torture. So, to make the experience a bit more easy to handle, give yourself 5 minutes to shake your arms, shake your legs, rock back and forth, and run your hands up and down your arms to make your body more comfortable with stillness. Think of it like shaking up a snow globe so you can watch the snow fall nicely to the bottom. Sit, and if you get an itch, scratch it, but only in that first 5 minutes. Every minute after that, you gotta keep your resolve. As you develop your practice, you'll notice that you'll experience distractions much less as your mind begins to learn that you won't respond to them. After all, the mind is very cunning when it comes to trying to control your behavior. When I first began, I used to get unbelievable itches on my face out of nowhere. When I began to just let them itch away and watch them go away on their own, they stopped. But then my back began to hurt. And when I didn't respond to that, my neck began to hurt, and so on. It's amazing how the mind learns what you do and don't respond to. But in the beginning, when you're just getting used to this phenomenon, give yourself 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, to shake the sillies out. 5. Practice a mantra. If your mind is prone to looping negative, anxious thoughts, speak over them with a positive mantra. In the Hindu tradition, a mantra is compared to a piece of bamboo given to an elephant to keep its trunk from wandering wildly in the air. An elephant's trunk will reach for anything, sniffing and feeling anything it can grab onto. But if you simply give it something, like a piece of bamboo, he holds it proudly in the air, like he were about to conduct an orchestra. A mantra is a small phrase or word that you repeat out loud or in your mind to keep it from wandering. Click here to learn more about mantras. 6. Set reasonable goals. Many people will often get very excited when they begin a meditation or yoga practice, and they'll set their minds on practicing every day or a few times a week, every week, forever and ever. More times than not, people find themselves unable to keep up these long-term goals, so there is a considerable amount of beating oneself up and stopping the practice altogether. When it comes to personal development, the only way to set a goal is one day at a time. If you wake up and say to yourself, "Today I'm going to meditate," it's a far more achievable goal than meditating forever and ever. If you're too tired when you get home, or you just can't do it for whatever reason, you know you can just pick it back up tomorrow. Simply note your progress as you go. See how meditation makes you more peaceful and use that peace as motivation instead of long-term goal setting. 7. Celebrate your efforts, not the results. Studies show that children whose parents celebrate efforts over results are far more likely to succeed in their endeavors than those whose parents simply award results. If you're having trouble focusing or find that you can only meditate a few times a week, that's okay. Celebrate your desire to gain control of your anxiety and be proud of the work you're devoting to your practice. If you notice that you keep coming back to the same thought over and over again in your meditation practice, simply note it and know it's normal. If you keep the mindset and not beat yourself up if your practice isn't exactly what you want it to be, you will attain the benefits of your practice far faster than one who focuses only on the results of their meditation. How to meditate with anxiety. The present moment isn't always a place of rest. Meditation can put us in touch with our stress and anxiety, and that's why it can be so helpful. Explore how mindfulness and meditation can help soften feelings of anxiousness, reduce stress, and calm a panic attack in our new Mindful Guide to Meditation for Anxiety. Anxiety is our body's way of saying, "Hey, I'm experiencing too much stress all at once." This happens to the best of us, but when that feeling of being always on alert becomes background noise that doesn't go away, that's when it's time to seek help. Mindfulness and meditation for anxiety is a growing field that can help you navigate the many ways that anxiety can disorder your life. This guide is not meant to serve as a diagnosing tool or a treatment path. It's simply a collection of research and some practices you can turn to as you begin to right your ship. Calm anxiety in 3 steps. Open your attention to the present moment. The invitation is to bring attention to our experience in a wider and more open manner that isn't involved with selecting or choosing or evaluating, but simply holding, becoming a container for thoughts, feelings, or sensations in the body that are present, and see if we can watch them from one moment to the next. Focus on the breath. Let go of that widescreen to bring a focus that's much more concentrated and centered, so narrower, on breathing in one region of our bodies. The breath of the belly, or the chest, or the nostrils, or anywhere that the breath makes itself known, and keeping that more concentrated focus. Bring your attention to your body. Move out to become aware of sensations in the body as a whole, sitting with the whole body, the whole breath. Once again, we move back to a wider and spacious container of attention for our experience. Mindfulness is not a panacea. It's not the right choice for everyone. But according to some research, when you can create a little space between yourself and what you're experiencing, your anxiety can soften. But if you get too used to that low rumble of stress always being there, it can gradually grow, creating a stress habit that is detrimental to your health and well-being. Consequently, when we get caught up in patterns of reactivity, we create more distress in our lives. This is why it's so important to discern the difference between reacting with unawareness and responding with mindfulness. How mindfulness calms anxious feelings. Mindfulness helps you learn to stay with difficult feelings without analyzing, suppressing, or encouraging them. When you allow yourself to feel and acknowledge your worries, irritations, painful memories, and other difficult thoughts and emotions, this often helps them dissipate. Mindfulness allows you to safely explore the underlying causes of your stress and worry. By going with what's happening rather than expending energy fighting or turning away from it, you create the opportunity to gain insight into what's driving your concerns. Mindfulness helps you create space around your worries so they don't consume you. When you begin to understand the underlying causes of your apprehension, freedom and a sense of spaciousness naturally emerge. How mindfulness helps anxiety. Mindfulness is the basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing, and not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. Leading expert Jon Kabat-Zinn describes it as awareness that arises through paying attention, on purpose, in the present moment, non-judgmentally, adding, in the service of self-understanding and wisdom. When you become aware of the present moment, you gain access to resources you may not have realized were with you all along. A stillness at your core. An awareness of what you need and don't need in your life that's with you all the time. You may not be able to change your situation through mindfulness, but you can change your response to your situation. A simple meditation for anxiety. The 3-minute breathing space is one of the most popular practices in the 8-week MBCT program. It allows you to shift your attention away from automatic multitasking patterns of thought to help you get unstuck. It invites you to bring attention to your experience in a broader, more open manner that isn't involved in selecting, choosing, or evaluating, but simply becoming aware of your thoughts and feelings, your breath in various regions of the body, and finally, sensations throughout the entire body. The 3-minute breathing space meditation. There are 3 steps to practice. Attend to what is. The first step invites attending broadly to one's experience, noting it but without the need to change what you're observing. Focus on the breath. The second step narrows the field of attention to a single pointed focus on the breath in the body. Attend to the body. The third step widens attention again to include the body as a whole and any sensations that are present. Ways to calm anxiety with mindfulness. Meditate anxiety. Explore your breath. Is it shallow and choppy or long and smooth? Calm the rush of panic to your body with this simple breathing practice. Get out of your head and into your body. Try these 11 ways to engage your senses. Explore your attitude. By attending to these 10 mindful attitudes for decreasing anxiety, you can support your mindfulness practice and help it flourish. Be kind to yourself when you're feeling too anxious to meditate. It happens. Consider these informal practices instead. 3 meditations for anxiety. Practice number 1, a simple meditation to overcome anxiety. People often stumble over the concept of acceptance as an approach for dealing with difficult emotions and mental states. In mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, MBCT groups that I've led, this predictably comes up around the 4th or 5th session as participants say, "How can I accept this pain?" Or, "I want to feel fewer of these difficult emotions, not more." These reactions reflect an underlying calculation that even though trying to avoid or push away negative thoughts and feelings can be exhausting, the strategy has worked in the past. So why risk using a different and unfamiliar strategy? In these moments, rather than answer this question directly, I find it helpful to remind myself of 3 simple points. 1. Allowing negative emotions to exist in our lives for the moment does not mean that we've chosen not to take action. The concept of acceptance, as introduced in MBCT, is intended to describe the possibility of developing a different relationship to experience, one that is characterized by allowing an experience and letting it be. Allowing difficult feelings to be in awareness means registering their presence before choosing how to respond to them. It takes a real commitment and involves a deliberate movement of attention. Importantly, allowing is not the same thing as being resigned or passive or helpless. 2. Denying that a negative mindset is taking place is riskier for your mental health. The opposite of allowing is quite risky. Being unwilling to experience negative thoughts, feelings, or sensations is often the first link in a mental chain that can lead to automatic, habitual, and critical patterns of mind becoming reestablished. You can see this when someone says, "I'm stupid to think like this," or "I should be strong enough to cope with that." By contrast, shifting the basic stance toward experience from one of not wanting to one of opening allows this chain reaction of habitual responses to be altered at the first link. Thus, "I should be strong enough" shifts to, fear is here, or judgment is present. 3. Acceptance helps you work through each unpleasant experience. The third is that the practices of MBCT offer concrete ways for cultivating a stance of allowing and letting be amid painful experiences. We often know intellectually that it might be helpful to be more loving, caring, and accepting towards ourselves and what we are feeling, but we have very little idea how to do it. These capacities are unlikely to be produced merely by an effort of will. Instead, they require working through the body with repeated practice over time to notice how things like anxiety may show up as tightness in the chest, or sadness or heaviness in the shoulders. Bringing attention, awareness to the sensations that accompany difficult experiences offers the possibility of learning to relate differently to such experiences in each moment. In time, this practice of working through the body may allow people to realize through their experiential practice that they can allow unpleasant experiences and still be okay. Practice number 2, a meditation for anxiety and stress. Give yourself about 30 minutes for this mindfulness practice from MBSR expert Bob Stahl. You can do this practice in a seated position, standing, or even lying down. Choose a position in which you can be comfortable and alert. Take a moment to thank yourself for being here, for taking this time to be present, to go inside, into your own lives. Connect with your mind and body with a mindful check-in, feeling any sensations, any holdings, any tightness in the body, as well as feeling into your mood, feeling into your emotions, and just acknowledging whatever's being felt and letting be. Now, very gently, withdrawing the awareness from the mindful check-in, let's bring our attention to the breath. Being mindful of the breath in the abdomen, expanding on inhalation and falling on an exhalation. Breathing in and breathing out with awareness. Now, gently withdrawing the awareness from breathing will shift our focus to a body scan. Feeling into this body, into the world of sensations, thoughts, and emotions, and acknowledging whatever is being experienced. Whatever arises in the body, or perhaps at times even in the mind and emotions, acknowledging and letting be. Breathe into your whole body. We may notice from time to time tensions, tightness, achiness, and if we can allow any of these areas to soften, by all means, let that happen. It's also important to know that if we are unable to soften, our practice informs us to let it be. Let whatever sensations ripple and resonate wherever they need to go. The same applies to even our thoughts and emotions, letting them be. Be kind to any anxious thoughts that arise with the mindful inquiry. As we're feeling into this body and mind, we may at times continue to experience some anxious thoughts, worries, fears, and there are times when we can use the practice of mindfulness, of inquiry, of investigating to discover potentially the underlying causes of our fears. If it appears that even after practicing the body scan and mindful breathing that we're persisting with some anxious feelings, bring attention to those feelings themselves now to acknowledge what's being felt, feeling into the fear. Wade into your feelings with compassion and gentleness. Just as we sometimes put our toes into the water to acclimate to the water temperature slowly, part by part, we should very gently dip our toes into feeling fear. Just acknowledging what's there, feeding into the fear with awareness. There's no need to try to analyze or figure things out. Just feeling into the experience of feeling anxious, fearful, worried, and letting be. And whatever arises, equally acknowledging and letting it be. This is how we feel into the heart of fear, just listening with such compassion. No need to push ourselves more than we can handle, but just working with the edges, feeling into the anxiety and acknowledging. As we learn to be with things as they are, we may discover the underlying causes of our fear and pain. And now, gently withdrawing from the mindful inquiry practice, come back to the breath again. Breathe in and out, feeling in the abdomen the belly expanding on the inhalation and falling on the exhalation. Breathing in and breathing out with awareness, just staying present to each breath in and out. Take a moment to watch your thoughts. Just like we're watching the breath coming and going, we can even begin watching the very thoughts we think, as though we're watching the clouds flying by in the sky. Like sitting at the edge of a river just watching whatever is floating downstream. Beginning to observe that the mind and even the thoughts of fear are nothing but passing mental phenomena, like clouds. Observing any fearful, anxious thoughts as just mental events that come and go. Observing the mind, thoughts, noticing the ever-changing nature of thoughts just coming and going. As we become aware of thoughts and the traps we find ourselves in, we can become free. And now gently coming back to the breath. Just be mindful breathing in and breathing out. Now, as we begin to end this meditation on working with anxiety, let's take a moment to remember all those that are being challenged with these feelings, all those living with fear, worry. Let us extend our well wishes of healing, of peace, to all those living in fear. May we take these moments now to thank ourselves for proactively turning into your fears and working with them. As we acclimate ourselves to our fears, may we not be so challenged by them. May all beings, wherever they are, may they be free from fear, and may all beings be at peace. Practice number 3. A guided meditation for anxious emotions. Because this practice involves intentionally exploring the experience of anxiety, it can be challenging. Before you do this practice, please take a little time to consider whether you're feeling up to it, listening to your inner voice to determine whether it feels right for you at this time. Consider doing your first practice when you feel safe and curious and have the energy and time to explore your anxiety more deeply. If now is not the time, be sure to return to this practice later when you feel willing to take it on. Best coping methods for anxiety. Anxiety is a normal part of life. However, people sometimes experience prolonged periods of anxiety that can affect their social, work, or personal lives. People can try various methods to help them cope. In some cases, anxiety can become a disorder. Anxiety disorders occur when the feelings of anxiety and worry are both persistent and highly disruptive. People with anxiety disorders usually require treatment. Keep reading to learn more about some of the best ways to manage and cope with anxiety. Identifying the cause of anxiety. There are plenty of reasons why someone may feel anxious, including work-related stress, financial troubles, health problems, drug use, social relationships, trauma. Some health conditions may increase anxiety. For example, someone with chronic pain might experience regular anxiety. Certain situations can also trigger symptoms. Some people find that job interviews cause high levels of anxiety, for instance. However, this type of anxiety, which people may refer to as situational, is usually temporary. In some cases, underlying health problems might cause symptoms similar to those of anxiety. For example, some conditions cause heart palpitations or sweating. Quick coping techniques. It is helpful to have a few coping techniques for dealing with anxiety or worry. Here are some examples of quick coping techniques that might help. Breathing. This simple technique is easy to learn and apply when feeling anxious. Some people react to anxious situations by breathing faster, which can worsen stress and anxiety. Consciously slowing the breathing down can control the anxiety. The technique for this involves breathing in slowly through the nose, holding the breath in for several seconds, breathing out slowly, repeating a few times until the anxiety reduces and the heart rate returns to normal. An older study by researchers at the Southern Methodist University in Dallas found that capnometry-assisted respiratory training reduced symptom severity in people with panic disorder. Capnometry-assisted respiratory training is a type of breathing therapy that promotes slow, mindful breathing. Participants performed breathing exercises twice a day in this study. Panic disorder is different than anxiety, but the conditions share some symptoms. Other relaxation techniques. Activities such as yoga and Tai Chi are also helpful for promoting relaxation and helping reduce anxiety and stress. Guided imagery. When someone is feeling anxious about a situation or task ahead of them, guided imagery can help. This practice involves imagining completing the task that is causing anxiety calmly and successfully. For instance, imagining finishing an important meeting or event before it happens can reduce anxiety about it. Some people also find it beneficial to visualize an environment in which they feel safe and relaxed. Long-term coping techniques. Some anxiety coping strategies take time to produce results. Here are a few ways to manage anxiety in the long run. Stress management. Managing stress using a variety of methods is one way to reduce overall anxiety levels. Stress management might include regularly practicing meditation or slow breathing exercises. Lifestyle changes. A healthy lifestyle that includes a balanced diet, regular exercise, and good quality sleep can help improve people's mental well-being. Talking to others. It can be helpful to speak with others, such as friends, family members, or a therapist, about anxiety or its causes. Long-term coping techniques can help prepare someone for stressful situations and events. They might make a person less likely to experience severe anxiety over time. When is anxiety harmful? Some people have severe or very frequent anxious reactions to situations and events. If the symptoms start to affect someone's social, work, or personal life, this may indicate an anxiety disorder. Severe anxiety can cause people to avoid certain situations or environments. For example, someone may stop going for job interviews or social events to avoid feelings of anxiety. People with agoraphobia have an irrational fear of places that might be difficult to escape. It can cause some people to stop leaving their homes. Anxiety becomes problematic when it is not proportionate to the situation or is persistent and disruptive. When and how to seek help. If someone is experiencing anxiety that is becoming disruptive and coping strategies are not working, they should seek professional help. Seeing a doctor is a good first step. The doctor can help evaluate the person's symptoms and refer them to a mental health professional if necessary. A mental health professional may suggest any of the following treatments: individual psychotherapy, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, group therapy, psychiatric medication. Depression meditation and tips. Tips and tricks. There's no right or wrong way to meditate. If you're looking for some extra pointers, though, these tips can help. Practice at the same time every day. Making meditation a habit can help your success. It's okay to start small. Even 5 minutes a day can help. Try to commit 5 minutes every day at a time that works well for you. Maybe you do a body scan in the shower every morning, or do a sitting meditation right before bed. Maybe it's the last thing you do before getting into bed each night. You might have to try a few scenarios before you find the most effective approach to meditation, but that's okay. Once you find the right approach, you're more likely to stick with it. Use a mantra. Your attention will sometimes wander. That's just a given. If you find it hard to bring your focus back, it might help to use a mantra. Choose a simple phrase you feel comfortable repeating throughout your meditation practice, like, I am calm. Even one as simple as the traditional Om can help increase your focus. Be creative. Maybe a seated meditation doesn't work for you. If you're an active person, you might prefer to meditate while walking or even getting some more intense activity. As long as you're safe, you can meditate on the go. Practice focusing your awareness throughout your body on the repeated motion of your arms, legs, or other active body parts. Even just taking your meditation outside can help you have more success. Nature offers a lot of health benefits, and the soothing sounds of the natural world can offer a great backdrop for meditation practices. Give it time. Meditation takes effort and time. You might notice some small improvements right away, but you probably won't feel a huge difference immediately. Most research exploring the benefits of meditation looks at its impact over several weeks or even months. Like most other approaches to treating depression, you may have to keep at it for a while to see some benefits. In the meantime, try to focus on any positive changes you do notice, whether it's a slight increase in your focus or a gentle lift of your mood. When to get help. Depression can be serious. While meditation does show promise as a helpful approach for depression, it's often not enough on its own. If you have symptoms of depression, consider seeking support from a therapist before trying alternative approaches. Many therapists offer mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, so you can still incorporate the benefits of meditation into your care. Meditation may not help much during a major depressive episode. If you have severe symptoms, you're better off talking to a mental health professional or your healthcare provider. Above all, it's a good idea to get professional support as soon as possible if your quality of life has decreased, you struggle to maintain daily life and responsibilities, you experience physical symptoms like fatigue, pain, or loss of appetite, you have thoughts of hurting yourself or other people, you think about death, dying, or ending your life. Chapter 3. About chronic illness. A chronic or long-term illness means having to adjust to the demands of the illness and the therapy used to treat the condition. There may be additional stresses since chronic illness might change the way you live, see yourself, and relate to others. Characteristics of a chronic illness. Chronic illnesses are mostly characterized by complex causes, many risk factors, long latency periods, time between the onset of the illness and feeling its effects, a long illness, functional impairment or disability. Most chronic illnesses do not fix themselves and are generally not cured completely. Some can be immediately life-threatening, such as heart disease and stroke. Others linger over time and need intensive management, such as diabetes. Most chronic illnesses persist throughout a person's life, but are not always the cause of death, such as arthritis. Common chronic illnesses. While many illnesses can be considered chronic, 12 major chronic conditions are a significant burden in terms of morbidity, mortality, and healthcare costs in Australia, including heart disease, stroke, lung cancer, colorectal cancer, depression, type 2 diabetes, arthritis, osteoporosis, asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, chronic kidney disease, oral disease. Common stresses of chronic illness. Chronic or long-term illness and its treatment pose special problems. You need to learn how to live with the physical effects of the illness, deal with the treatments, make sure there is clear communication with doctors, maintain emotional balance to cope with negative feelings, maintain confidence and a positive self-image. Additional demands of chronic illness. As well as needing to find ways to deal with the stress involved with chronic illness, You also need to understand the condition, know about the treatment and therapy, maintain trust and confidence in the doctors, especially when recovery isn't possible, know how to control the symptoms, maintain social relationship and a strong support network when faced with an uncertain medical future or when symptoms arise. Avoid social isolation. Type of help available for chronic illness. Dealing with the stresses of chronic illness can be demanding, and it puts extra pressure on you. You must speak to your doctor or healthcare provider about your feelings and how effectively you think you are coping with the illness and its treatment. Ways to cope with chronic illness. There is a range of ways to deal with the stress of chronic illness. These include finding information. This can help you if you feel helpless or out of control. Emotional support from others, particularly family and friends. This can be a source of great help. Joining a well-facilitated support group. Setting concrete, short-term goals to restore certainty, power, and control. Thinking about possible outcomes. Discussing them with the doctor can help you to face them before they become a reality. The overall aim of these strategies is to help put your illness into context and give some meaning to what is happening. Children with a chronic illness. For children with a chronic illness, there are programs and opportunities for funding support attached to government, Catholic, and independent sector schools. If your child has a chronic illness, speak to your school principal for help developing a health support plan and applying for programs or funding support for your child. Raising Children Network also has information about support groups for teenagers with chronic illness, or visit Livewire, the online community for teens living with a chronic illness or a disability. Where to get help. Your GP, doctor, your child's school, support groups. How mindfulness helps chronic pain. Buddhists have been aware that mindfulness has the power to reduce pain for thousands of years. This study explains that the ancient Buddhist text, the Salada Sutta, the arrow, states that meditation practitioners have the unique ability to fully experience the sensory aspect of pain, first arrow, but to let go of the evaluation, second arrow, of pain. Indeed, current medical research is starting to realize that mindfulness can indeed be a powerful tool. The same study explains that various brain scans have been done on someone during meditation to figure out what happens to the brain during this state. It was found that the areas of the brain that were activated during meditation are those which help to process memories and information, regulate the internal processes in the body, which essentially is referring to all the body's systems, such as breathing, heart rate, blood flow, and immune system, just to mention a few. Focus on problem solving, help to focus attention, regulating and controlling emotions, helps with adaptive, healthy behaviors. Increased gray matter was also found in those who meditated compared to those who did not. This gray matter helps you to control your emotions, to think things through and solve issues, as well as to adapt to changes in your life. In the context of chronic pain, this means that meditation can help you to stop your mind wandering back to your pain when you are trying to focus on something else, therefore improving your ability to give your entire attention to the task at hand, and in turn, improve your level of functioning. It gives you the power to take your mind off your pain and refocus it, therefore aiding you in replacing unhelpful behaviors with healthy ones, which can reduce your pain and allow you to take better care of your health. Mindfulness has been proven to reduce stress. Our body is not designed to withstand stress for long periods. When we're stuck in that flight or fight mode, our body is being overworked, and so it exacerbates pain. Pain then causes stress because it's tough to deal with, and so it becomes a pain and stress cycle. There are two parts to the nervous system: the sympathetic nervous system, which increases functioning in your body, and the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms things down. During mindfulness meditations, the parasympathetic nervous system is activated, resulting in your muscles unsensing, your heart rate reducing, your breathing slowing, and your blood pressure reducing, essentially meaning that your mind and body are in a complete state of relaxation. Mindfulness helps to improve mental health, reducing anxiety and giving a deeper sense of overall well-being and positivity. This in turn reduces stress, as well as helping to control the mental health symptoms that so often come hand in hand with chronic pain. Mental health itself can lower quality of life, even without chronic pain. So improving this aspect for a patient can make a significant difference. This study concluded that mindfulness meditation was associated with statistically significant improvement in depression, physical health-related quality of life, and mental health-related quality of life. Improved mental health results in better coping strategies and allows you to feel empowered instead of helpless. By learning to accept the pain you may be feeling in the moment, you can feel less weighed down by negative thoughts and more in control. This study on the effects of meditation found improvements in pain, pain acceptance, quality of life, and functional status. When you live with chronic pain, it's natural to find it tough to take your focus away from your pain. Sometimes this focus becomes constant awareness of your pain, also known as hypervigilance. On the same note, patients can become fearful of causing more pain, which leads them to avoiding situations that they anticipate may worsen their symptoms. This is known as fear avoidance. Both hypervigilance and fear avoidance are maladaptive for those with chronic pain. They feed into the pain cycle, worsen symptoms, and reduce functioning. Mindfulness techniques can be used to tackle these problems. Pain catastrophizing is common in those with chronic pain, meaning that you are worried about your pain in a way that becomes all-consuming and emotionally distressing. Since mindfulness gives you the tools to think more clearly and control your thoughts and emotions, it can be used to overcome pain catastrophizing. During regularly practiced mindfulness, the amygdala, an area of the brain that is reactive and creates fear, starts to shrink, and the neurons within it become less active, while the prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain that allows us to have greater control over our emotions, expands and the neurons within it become more active. This allows us to reduce fear and take control of it, as this study explains. Difficulties sleeping are common for many chronic pain conditions for obvious reasons. Being more relaxed and having reduced levels of pain through mindfulness leads to better sleep, which also improves cognitive abilities, energy levels, and mental health. You can even practice mindfulness meditation in bed to help you drift off to sleep. Living with chronic pain can become such a big part of your life that it can make you lose that sense of self, being confused about who you are and lacking in confidence. Mindfulness has been proven to help patients regain their sense of self and reestablish lost confidence, as explained in this study. These improvements in quality of life and reduction of pain aren't just in the short term. Once individuals have been given the tools they need to incorporate mindfulness in their daily lives and practice meditations at home, the progress is proven to be sustained for the long term. Chapter 4. Good habits that make life with mental health disorders or chronic illness less of a struggle. Being diagnosed with a long-term health condition can be frightening and disorienting. Once you move beyond the initial shock of your diagnosis, it's helpful to learn how to cope with the daily stresses of living with your illness. Everyone is susceptible to the effects of stress. However, living with a long-term condition can make you particularly vulnerable. In addition to the everyday challenges that most people face, chronic illness adds new layers of stressors. For example, you may need to cope with pain or discomfort from your symptoms, Take steps to manage your condition and practice self care. Adjust to new limitations that your condition puts on your life. Manage increased financial pressures. Cope with feelings of frustration, confusion, or isolation. You can take steps to maximize your quality of life and minimize the challenges of living with a long-term illness. Use the following strategies to help you cope and regain control. Understand your condition. When you're living with a long-term condition, it can be helpful to learn everything you can about your symptoms and treatment options. Ask your doctor specific questions about your condition, but don't stop there. Your local library and patient associations for specific conditions are excellent resources for increasing your knowledge base. You can also find information online, although some sources are more accurate and reliable than others. Observe your own body, too. Pay close attention to what seems to ease your symptoms or make them worse. Use a notebook or calendar to record trends and other insights that might help you manage your symptoms. Share your notes with your doctor so your healthcare team can better understand how your condition affects you. Become a self-manager. Serving as the day-to-day manager of your health may help you gain a sense of control and improve your quality of life. Following your recommended treatment plan may help keep your symptoms and stress in check. For example, it's important to take prescribed medications as directed and attend scheduled healthcare appointments. It may help to set up a reminder system in your calendar, daily planner, or smartphone. Other daily decisions that affect your actions and lifestyle can shape how effectively you circumvent stress. For example, eating nutritious foods and getting enough exercise may help boost your mood, improve your mobility, and ease your symptoms. You should also take steps to manage your attitude, emotions, and relationships. Manage emotions. The all-encompassing nature of the chronic illness and the ways it disrupts your life and plans can elicit a wide range of emotions. These responses may include stress, grief, rage, fear, depression, anxiety. Experiment with different ways of managing stress and painful emotions. When you find a technique that works, incorporate it into your daily or weekly routine. Some ideas include exercising, stretching, listening to music, deep breathing, meditation, writing in a journal, cooking, reading, spending quality time with family and friends. It may help to schedule time in your calendar for regular breaks and self-care. Manage relationships. Relationship management is also important when you have a chronic condition. You may find that you have limited energy and time available for socializing. Some friends or family members may not understand the challenges you are facing. Making smart choices about where to focus your time and energy can help you live your best possible life. Focus on the relationships that are most important to you. Let go of relationships that add more stress than support to your life. Develop adaptability. Attitude and approach can make a big difference to your quality of life. It's important to develop a healthy acceptance of the lifestyle changes that your condition requires. It also helps to develop confidence in your ability to live within these constraints. You can take control of your life in ways that make a difference in your everyday experience by approaching your condition with adaptability and confidence. Develop new skills and habits and take a problem-solving approach to figure out what works best for you. You'll be better able to manage challenges as they arise. Chapter 5. Products you need to practice in comfort. 1. Organic Spelt Husk Ergonomic Meditation Cushion. You'll likely be seated in silence for quite some time, and this ergonomic meditation cushion by Moonleap promotes comfort and better posture. It features a 3-part design that helps to distribute your weight evenly, correct your upright seated posture, and prevent numb legs. It's filled with a lightweight organic spelled husk that naturally forms to your body. And it also comes with extra filling, so you can add more as the cushion stretches naturally. 2. Making Space by Thich Nhat Hanh. There is no shortage of great meditation books, and this one by a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, peace activist, and author Thich Nhat Hanh is a great introduction for beginners. This 96-page illustrated guide features easy instructions for creating a Zen-ready space in your own home, as well as the basics of meditation and mindfulness, which is why seasoned meditators love reading it as a refresher. 3. Boltune Noise-Canceling Headphones. Tune everything out and dive deeper into your concentration with these noise-canceling headphones by Boltune. These over-ear Bluetooth cans include 45mm large aperture drivers that give it a deep bass and HD sound, making it great for pairing with your favorite meditation apps and music alike. The comfortable ear pads and aluminum alloy construction make them super light and durable, so they're ideal for traveling. The built-in microphone means you can also use this for hands-free calls, and you'll also get about 30 hours of listening on less than an hour of charging. 4. Asakuki Smart Wi-Fi Essential Oil Diffuser. This Wi-Fi-enabled cool mist humidifier and essential oil diffuser make it easy to control your aromatherapy and air moisture, so you can enjoy maximum comfort and focus during your meditation. It's compatible with Amazon Alexa and Google Home, and the device's Tuya Smart app allows you to schedule timers and change the mist and light settings. The unit is made of BPA-free plastic, so it's also safe to use around kids. It can hold 500 milliliters of water and works best in rooms of approximately 200 square feet. At 6 inches by 6 inches by 5 inches, the humidifier is quite compact and works great in small spaces. The device also shuts off automatically when the water is out. 5. Cliganic USDA Organic Essential Oil Set. If you are just dipping your toes into aromatherapy for your meditation, this 8-cent essential oil set by Clinique is a good place to start. It includes peppermint, lemongrass, eucalyptus, tea tree, lavender, rosemary, frankincense, and orange oils, which each offer their benefits ranging from boosting alertness and focus to promoting calmness and mental strength, to name a few. You'll have extra peace of mind knowing that the oils are cruelty-free, USDA organic, and non-GMO project verified. 6. Muse 2 Brain Sensing Headband. Zen seekers who want a high-tech approach to their practice will find it in this Muse 2 headset, which uses 7 EEG brain sensors to measure and detect your brain activity in real time. The headband works with Bluetooth earbuds to play audio, and its app is compatible with iOS and Android. Note that it doesn't currently support Huawei devices. It's powered by a lithium-ion battery that's rechargeable via a micro USB port. The device also tracks your breathing, heartbeat, and body motion, and combines all of the data in the app to help guide users to deeper mind and body relaxation. You'll hear relaxing weather sounds to help you refocus when your mind starts wandering, and the app helps you track your short and long-term progress. A separate content subscription, $46.99 per year, headset not required, gives you access to over 300 guided meditations designed for sleep, performance, stress, and more. The Muse 2 is surprisingly comfortable, easy to use, and delivers a personalized experience you can't get from apps and headphones alone. 7. Bean Products Zafu Meditation Cushion. This Zafu meditation cushion comes in over 30 different colorways, so you can style it to suit any home or office breathing room. Available in either a round 14-inch option or an oval 18-inch size, this comfy seat is filled with organic buckwheat that conforms to your body for comfort and supports the alignment of your spine and hips while meditating. The eco-friendly meditation cushion is produced in the U.S. by a family-run company, and its removable and machine-washable cover is made of sustainably sourced organic cotton. 8. Gayam Meditation Cushion Zabuton Yoga Pillow. Measuring 36 inches long by 24 inches wide by 4 inches thick, this Zafu meditation cushion by Gayam will help relieve pressure on your back, knees, and ankles. The cotton batting forms to your body to encourage proper alignment and positioning. And we like that the cover is removable and machine washable. 9. Tibetan Singing Bowl Set. This 4-inch Tibetan singing bowl is made of sturdy bronze, which produces mesmerizing sound to enhance your meditation. It comes with a dual-surface wooden mallet that makes it easy to play long-lasting and layered tones, while the hand-sewn, non-dampening pillow helps stabilize the bowl. 10. Western Sage's Hand-Knotted Mala Beads. These 108 mala beads, which signify the sacred number in yogic, Buddhist, and Hindu traditions, are made of lightweight jujube wood that becomes more lustrous as you use them. The beads are individually hand-knotted on nylon thread for durability, making them ideal for daily use. Bonus! Your purchase is tax-deductible, as all proceeds benefit California-based nonprofit organization Western Sages, which provides free meditation workshops and classes. Conclusion. It's normal for someone to experience anxiety in response to stressful events and situations. There are several ways to deal with anxiety, including quick techniques to calm anxious thoughts and feelings. Long-term coping mechanisms might include maintaining a healthy lifestyle. People who experience regular anxiety might require treatment. In cases where anxiety has become disruptive to normal life, it might be a sign of an anxiety disorder. Nothing can cure depression. However, when you incorporate meditation practices into your daily life, you may find it easier to challenge unwanted thoughts you experience and keep yourself from getting locked into the negative thought spirals that often make depression worse. Meditation may be more beneficial when used alongside therapy, so don't hesitate to reach out to a compassionate therapist who can offer more guidance on coping skills and other treatments. Living with chronic illness can be stressful, but you can take steps to manage your condition and maintain a good quality of life. Learn as much as you can about your illness and treatment needs. Be proactive about following your treatment plan and leading a healthy lifestyle. Make time for activities and relationships that leave you feeling happier and supported, while avoiding people and things that stress you out. By adjusting your expectations and practicing self-care, you can make your health and well-being a priority. The end.